Now we will have the Pioneer Valley Band. At this time, our commander, Frank Campo, will speak to us.
Thank you, Marvin. Google the term national debt, and you will quickly receive the search result for 28.7 million websites. Most deal with the very serious issues of government overspending and the accumulation of more than 2 centuries of federal deficits. Yet very few bring up the biggest national debt of them all, that which America owes to her veterans. Marine Sergeant Dakota Meyer is one who America owes an enormous debt. Humble by nature, but heroic by deed, Sergeant Meyer drove a Humvee into Afghanistan Valley that he knew was heavily populated with well-armed enemies insurgents. Outgunned and outnumbered, Sergeant Meyer and Staff Sergeant Juan Rodriguez Chavez made multiple trips into the hot zone, killing insurgents as Sergeant Meyer manned the turret. Disregarding serious shrapnel wounds that he received, Sergeant Meyer left the vehicle several times searching for pinned down friends and coalition forces. He found his friends and comrades shot to death, but with the assistance of Army Captain Will Swenson, Sergeant Meyer carried their bodies and gear away from the village. As he received his well-deserved Medal of Honor from President Obama, Sergeant Meyer requested his fallen colleagues be remembered. First Lieutenant Michael Johnson, Gunnery Sergeant Edward Johnson, Staff Sergeant Aaron Kennefick, Hospitalman 3rd Class James Layton, and Sergeant 1st Class Kenneth Westbrook. We salute you. Sergeant Meyer did not leave you behind, and as a nation, we must never forget your sacrifice. As we also honor the more than 1 million American men and women who gave their lives for their country since our nation's founding, our debt to these heroes can never be repaid, but our gratitude and respect must last forever. For many veterans, our nation was important enough to endure long separations from their families, miss the births of their children, freeze in sub-zero temperatures, bake in wild jungles, lose limbs, and far too often lose their lives. Military spouses have had to endure career interruptions, frequent changes of address, and a disproportionate share of parental responsibilities. The children often had to endure changes in schools, separation from friends, and hardest of all, the uncertainty of whether or not mom and dad will live through their next combat tour. The American Legion National Commander Fang Wong recently told Congress that it is not in the nature of American warriors to complain. Warriors endure. Warriors make do with less. Warriors finish the job no matter how hard, no matter what is asked. Warriors need advocates, and that is why the American Legion exists. We are here to serve veterans, their families, and our communities. Veterans need each other, but most importantly, our country needs our veterans. You cannot fight a war without veterans, and while the utopian idea of society without war is appealing, let us not forget that wars have liberated slaves, stopped genocide, and toppled terrorists. Stephen Ambrose once wrote, "American wars have been like rungs on a ladder by which it rose to greatness. No other country has triumphed so long, so consistently, or on such a vast scale with force of arms. It has been often said that without our veterans, Americans would be speaking Russian, German, or perhaps Japanese. Regardless of which of alternative history you take, we do know that without our veterans, America would not be America." The American Legion shows its support for American heroes through its Family Support Network, Legacy Scholarship Fund, Operation Comfort Warriors, Temporary Financial Assistance, and the National Emergency Fund, just to name a few of our programs. But you can show your support by simply saying thank you to the next veteran you meet. You can show your support by hiring a veteran in your workplace, visit the VA hospital, or donating to a veterans program. Companies should understand that it is smart business to hire veterans, and when members of the Guard Reserve deploy, it is America's business to ensure that their civilian careers do not suffer. Homelessness is another issue that affects veterans disproportionately. Too often, today's tattered citizens of the street was yesterday's toast of the town, in a crisp uniform with a row of shining medals. This is hardly the thanks of a grateful nation. We can do better. We must do better. Fortunately, veterans don't ask for much. Benefits are a mere drop in the bucket compared to the financial and human cost of war, but nonetheless, we still owe them. In 1979, author Tom Wolfe wrote a book about the Mercury 7 astronauts called The Right Stuff. As heroic veterans, they certainly earned this distinction, but my friends, I would not limit the title to that group only. Anyone who has honorably worn a United States military uniform has the right stuff. Remember that the next time you see a homeless person on the street, a man in a wheelchair, or a difficult co-worker who is experiencing PTSD. Historians have said that David Eisenhower was prouder of being a soldier than he was of being president. And while relatively few veterans ever reach the rank of general, pride in one's military service is a bond shared by nearly all who have served. This pride is on display on every obituary page in this country, where military service, regardless of how many decades have passed and subsequent achievements reached, is mentioned with the death notice of nearly every deceased veteran. Can any CEO or distinguished Ivy League graduate truly claim to have more responsibility than a 21-year-old squad leader walking point on patrol in Baghdad? And while the successful real estate mogul may have sold hundreds of homes and raised a wonderful family, what single accomplishments tops the decisive actions he took during the siege of Quezon, which he saved the lives of several of his fellow Marines? Yes, my friends, nothing they ever do will eclipse their military service, and they do have the right stuff. Fewer than 10% of Americans can claim the title of veteran. And while the great military phrase, uncommon valor, was a common virtue, has been so often repeated that it risks becoming a cliche, it is no less true. In 1789, George Washington said, "The willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be direct proportional as to how they perceive the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated by their country." We must ask ourselves as a nation, are we serving veterans even half as well as they have served us? As we honor our 23 million living veterans from the greatest generation to the latest generation, let us never forget this debt that is owed. No government, commission, or single dollar amount can adequately repay what has been given to all of us throughout our nation's history. Through their blood, service, and sacrifice, veterans have given us freedom, security, and the greatest nation on earth. It is possible to put a price on that. We must remember, we must appreciate them. God bless you for being here. God bless our veterans, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Now we will hear from our American Legion Auxiliary President, Peggy Fazzone.
Good morning. Of the many programs we have is Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation. Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation means the complete restoration of the veteran and his family to normal function and adjustment, physically, mentally, socially, and vocally, for the fullest possible life compatible with his abilities and disabilities. The Veterans Affairs and Rehab work of the American Legion Auxiliary include bringing physical comfort and mental cheer to the veterans in hospitals, aiding the disabled in earning money to support themselves and their families, and helping them to reestablish themselves in life. The American Legion Auxiliary cooperates with the American Legion in all its endeavors on behalf of the American veteran.
Now it's my turn. And for you people out there writing this down, my name is Marvin Douglas. Douglas spelled with 2 S's, not 1. Well, I want to tell you first about this. When I was district commander of the 16th District of the American Legion, I was called the Bucket Man. This is my bucket. I was taking donations for the Freedom Alliance, which is scholarships for children of military killed in action. And in my 1 year, I collected over $7,300 in my buckets. Mowed Park, and we play poker on Wednesday nights, and one of the gentlemen handed me a $20 bill and said, "Here, put it in your bucket. It's barbecue." This is the only time in this century we can play that. 11, 11, 11, 11. Today I'm going to relate to you what Veterans Day means to me, written by Sam Hall, a 5th grader. Veterans Day to me means freedom. Freedom to go to a country where death is not around every corner. Freedom to choose my hobbies. Freedom to play sports without the fear of bombs going off. Freedom to vote for our leaders. Freedom to say the things that matter to me. Freedom to dress the way I want to. Freedom to read the books. Veterans Day is a day to honor those who protect our freedoms. Every day should be Veterans Day. Now at this time, I'd like to introduce Michael Clayton for a few words.
My family and all the volunteers that are here today would like to thank all the veterans, and we really appreciate the fact that you've given us this opportunity to be here, to be able to thank you. Because if it wasn't for the veterans, we couldn't be doing any of this. This year we're asking for a donation for people who are not part of the military who would like to come in and get a big old plate of food for only $5, and you get to sit and dine with a hero. And it's not much to ask, and every dime that we raise today is going to go to the Freedom Dogs. The Freedom Dogs is a specialty dog service to wounded military heroes, and it's at no cost to the military. All expenses incurred in the training and health of these very special dogs is covered by the foundation called Freedom Dogs. The 2-year customized training of specialty service dogs is quite tedious, time-consuming, and costs almost twice that of training a regular service dog. That said, these dogs are they're very special dogs. The estimated cost for training these dogs is approximately $50,000 over a 2-year period. Your donation makes it possible for Freedom Dogs to enhance the lives of our heroes. It is reported that 40% of all returning troops suffer from PTSD. Today we have a couple of doctors, psychologists over here that are trained in PTSD, and if you need help, they're here to help you for free.